on the call. Please use the chat box if you are having any challenges in hearing what I'm saying. So yeah, I'd like to firstly thank Colin Huffin, who is the Head of Education for CIMSPA, for his work in putting together today's presentation and for leading today's call. We've also got Kira and Niall from the workforce team dialing in, so thank you for their support in coordinating today and for their ongoing support with our workforce investment. The purpose of today is very much to explore ways in which the network and CIMSPA can work together, highlighting some of the good practice taking place across our workforce at the moment. Ideally, we really want to use this as an opportunity to get some national updates, and then it can help you within your active partnerships understand better, hopefully, how you can then get traction with the work of CIMSPA at a local level. What I'd like to encourage you to do is digest the content of today's call, either follow up with Colin directly or come back to myself or Kira or Niall with any additional support needed, and your feedback on whether things like today have been useful as an update version. So that's kind of setting the scene. I'd like to hand over to Colin to obviously lead today's presentation. I would, just a few logistics, please keep yourself on mute throughout the duration of the call to help with the quality of the call. There's the chat box, which is the fourth option down on the grey box in front of you. We encourage this to be interactive, so please ask questions at the appropriate times or use the chat box, and hopefully that's okay. So over to you. Thank you very much, Colin.
Thanks, Charlie, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for inviting me to speak to you today. We've got a big crowd, which is great, fantastic. Thanks for joining us. But I'm also wary that we've got quite a wide range of experience of CIMSPA within the group as well. So for some of you may have heard some of this before, for some of you may be completely new. So I'll try to go all the way from the basics into the more technical bits of what we're doing with active partnerships as well. I'll pause for questions throughout the presentation, but as Charlie said, if you've got anything, drop it in the chat box. I can't see it at the moment, but I'll periodically try and drop in there and answer any questions you might have going along. But yeah, it's always difficult presenting to a blank screen, and I'm at home today and there's a small dog sat by the side of me, so if there is some barking, since you've seen a CAT or a bird, that's what it is. So apologies in advance, but hopefully she'll be quiet and go to sleep. Okay, so what I was hoping to run through with you today is the CIMSPA's objectives and progress to date in terms of what we're trying to achieve, how we're supporting and working very closely with Sport England and some active partnerships already on the delivery of the professional workforce strategy, what its aims are, how we work together, how we deliver that, and how we need your help on a local basis to make sure that's really embedded. What this terminology that you might have heard or start to hear around minimum standards for deployment of professional status means, and how that might shape the industry going forwards, and then how you can get involved. So what partnership types and opportunities there are with CIMSPA for you to join if you aren't already. So I know there's a number of partners that already are. So firstly, a thank you to the active partnerships that are already in partnership with us. You can see the logos of the organisations there. We've had two join relatively recently in Active Suffolk and Active Essex as well. So thank you for joining us. Each active partnership is working with us slightly differently, and we're very aware that obviously all active partnerships are very different in their not only geographical location but size, demographic and strategy aims as well. So CIMSPA are a listening organisation. We're not here to tell you how things should be done. We're here to hopefully work in partnership with you to achieve the aims of the workforce strategy and how we can both benefit from a partnership as well. So just to give you some examples of how we work together. So there's a couple of partnerships who are looking at this for their own staff, so their core staff, and are looking at how they can use CIMSPA membership opportunities to enable them to achieve a level of consistency across their own organisation, and how they can use our work on professional standards to identify skills gaps within their own workforce, and then use our endorsed CPD providers to plug those gaps as well. So that's a relatively straightforward partnership between us and the Active Partnership, where Active Partnership's core staff come into membership with us at the various levels of membership, and we work together on developing a skills strategy within that. So there's lots of opportunities to work differently to that. So another opportunity we're working with another Active Partnership with is looking at how the Active Partnership can extend and reach to the frontline workforce. So how they can be the organisation we partner with instead of having to partner with 36 to 40 to 50 small and medium-sized businesses. So they will work on their behalf in order to be the overall membership organisation or a frontline organisation, and then obviously with volume comes discount and things like that in terms of membership opportunity as well. So the Active Partnership will pass that discount through to the small and medium employers as well. So that's something we're looking at as well. So there are lots of different types of ways that we want to work with Active Partnerships, and I'll come back to the partnership opportunities and how you can get involved and how we can really build that together. But there are some standard partnership opportunities, and then there are some more bespoke things that we'll look to work with a smaller number of partnerships on. So yeah, so thank you for those of you that are already involved. So for those of you that haven't seen this before, we launched our vision in February this year, our new vision. So it really sets out what the intention of CIMSPA is and how we want to work through partnerships in order to embed this vision across the whole sector. So it's to shape a recognised and respected sport and the physical activity sector that everyone wants to be part of. So it's not a new vision. It's not something you haven't heard before. It's not something we haven't all been working towards. But we feel the moons have aligned in some ways, and there's lots of things that have happened in the last 18 to 24 months which can make this vision reality or make it easier for us to deliver this vision. There's a very clear steering outcome from government about what they expect organisations to do. We've got the use of a Royal Charter as an organisation that we can embed across the sector. So we've got political will and professional will as well, and it's really to get ourselves into that position. And we often think of the workforce as being somebody other than us as well, but it's also about us. So don't forget yourself in terms of your own professional development and your relationship with your professional workforce as well. So yeah, that's been obviously our raison d'etre for the last 6 to 9 months. We're trying to embed this across the sector. So it's about having that respected and recognised profession. There are a number of tactics that's obviously we're going to use to try and embed that across the sector. So I'll run through what some of those are. And you may have heard of the work that we've done around professional standards, but that's really been the start of much more work to come. So as mentioned, it's employer-led. So that's one of the other things we've got in line now. So over the past 2 to 3 years, we've been getting the large employers on board. We've primarily focused on exercise and fitness and leisure to start with. So a lot of those large leisure providers, you'll see their logos on that list. They've been on board with CIMSPA for a number of years now, and they really see the benefits of having a professionalised workforce in delivering their business aims and providing them with a return on investment as well. We've now started to shift our focus towards community and professional sport and health as well. And I'll show you some of the development work we're doing in those areas. But as you can see, it's embedded across every single strategy that's out there, going back all the way to 2014, 2015. And Sport England are on the call, and I'm sure will back us up to say that they're very much involved in supporting the delivery of a professional workforce through a professional body. This work, I know you guys are England focused, but this work is also extended into Scotland and Wales as well now. So we've got memorandums of understanding with Scotland in place, and we're very close to signing one in Wales as well with Sport Wales. So these borders only really exist for us. They don't really exist to real world people. They cross borders all the time. They go to university in different home countries and then live in different home countries. So what we've got to make sure is it's fully embedded across the whole of the UK. So that everyone can benefit from it. So what this means is we are on the journey of making this recognised and respected profession reality. We're not there yet. We know this is going to be a cultural change over a generation rather than something of which just happens overnight. But there are a number of things we're doing which we would hope you would like to get involved in, which you can see the benefits for your organisation as well. So what we've done for 2015 to 2019, we've got 134 employer partners on board. Those employer partners commit to putting their workforce in partnership with CIMSPA. So they therefore then commit to ongoing development and CPD and supporting those people through that process as well. Got 166 training provider partners, 13 awarding organisations, 21 higher education partners. So the education sector is somewhere where we've focused our efforts initially, in order to make sure that if we do have people in partnership with us, that we can provide them with an accredited, regulated education offer, which that's going to be high quality. So no longer do you purchase from, as I saw the other day on Facebook and Groupon, a £25 level 3 fitness personal training diploma. You can tell the difference between that and a accredited, endorsed program of learning, which is aligned to professional standards, which is what employers want. So we've been working with the education sector to get a large number of those on board, and they have. And the higher education partners is growing at least by one a month, every month at the moment. So those guys coming on board as well solve some of the problems that we know have been embedded across the sector for quite a while now. So graduates investing thousands and thousands of pounds in themselves, not being able to gain meaningful employment as a result at the end of their degree programme. Are we training the right number of people in the right things? We could have a debate about that. That could be another webinar. Do we need 17,000 sports scientists a year? Probably not. What do we need? So do we need more managers, more frontline staff, more people with technical skills? Do we need to have people that can deliver against the We Are Undefeatable campaign, that have the appropriate skills to deal with people with long-term conditions? Probably. So our work is to understand what we need and to provide people who can fill those gaps, rather than just letting the education system just deliver what they think is best for our sector. It's employer-led. So consultation process. We're very much a consultative organisation. CIMSPA is largely an administration function for the sector. We don't hold massive technical expertise. We're workforce experts, but we don't understand what happens in Pilates and yoga and people with long-term conditions. We use sector experts to do that. So we consult all the time. So we're always consulting on something. Whatever the topic is at that time, there's a consultation going on about it. So you'll see, if you look on our website, on our news pages, consultations happening all the time in various different topics. So if some of those are of interest to you, we'd love you to get involved. So please do join those consultations, feed into the development and infrastructure developments. Tell us what you think about certain things that we're developing. Get involved. All feedback is taken, whether it's positive or negative, in the same way that we want to hear from you. If it's got to work for you, if it doesn't work for you, then we haven't done our job right. So we want to hear from you from that. So we've done, as you can see, tons of consultation. We've got a governance structure that sits around us, that's employer-led as well, with a professional development board that meet quarterly. They sign off most of CIMSPA's work, and yeah, there's all sorts of different committees that happen and consultation opportunities for you to get involved in, whether that's face-to-face meetings or online. So plenty of opportunities for that as well. Professional standards project, some of you may have heard of this. This is probably one of the most well-renowned bits of our work. So we've been doing this for about 2 years. So we've now got a whole host of professional standards in various different topics, which is really like a little competency framework, but it's not what people perceive it to be. Is just for the endorsement of training, but it's much more than that. So every job role, every opportunity that somebody has in the sector will have a professional standard that's related to it. So it could be in topics such as coaching, or working in community environment, or working with long-term people with long-term health conditions, or working with inactive people. There's tons of different professional standards now that have been built by sector experts, administrated by CIMSPA, but they can be used not just only to source and accredit training, but they can be used as a development tool for people as well. So they can use them to create job descriptions, use them in appraisal processes, build competency frameworks, design learning programs, author qualifications, things like that. So do have a look at the standards. They've hopefully been written in a way that everyone can understand them. So they should pass what we call the grandma test. So could you pass it to your grandma, and could she understand what that role is and what that person does? So they should be usable for the sector. So yes, they are used to develop and endorse qualifications, training, degree programs, things like that. But also, we should be used practically as well. So there should be a practical, real-world tool that we'd encourage you use with your teams and out in the wider community as well, and sell that message for us as well to local employers. So yeah, so we've done that for quite a while. They are there, they're open, they're for the sector to use. They're live on our website, they can be downloaded. Please do use them. If you want to know how to use them, we'll be doing more guidance and webinars and things like that over the next 12 to 18 months on the use of standards and what they should and how they can be used. So just an example of what's in the library at the moment. So that's growing all the time. We signed off 4 more last week at the last Professional Development Board. So I think that brings us up to 32 standards. But we also have not just professional standards, but we also have apprenticeship standards as well. So CIMSPA are a lead organisation when it comes to apprenticeships. I know a lot of you and your local employers will be interested in engaging with apprenticeships, and I think this is a real missed opportunity for us as a sector. That we spend thousands and thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of pounds on training people in certain different topics. Where an apprenticeship system, if we could utilise that better, then we could make better use of the money on offer. That's from government. That our larger employers pay into a levy to make that happen. So we've got 5 apprenticeship standards that are out there at the moment. Leisure team member, personal trainers, leisure duty managers, community activator, coaching health officers. So some of you will be using those, I'm sure, but I'm sure some of you would relish some guidance on how to do that, and we'll be doing more of that in the next 12 to 18 months. So we've also been working with mainstream education to embed professional standards across HE and FE as well. So as you saw from the start, there are 20 universities that are now starting to gain accreditation for their degree programs from the professional body. So we know at the end of that degree program, the professional standards that have been written by employers have been met, and that graduate is fit for purpose and has the skills required to work within the sector. We've also been doing that further education as well. So working with an awarding organisation called Pearson. Now Pearson issue the certificates to over 40,000 students that are in FA each year. So they're studying sports related, normally BTEC qualifications, that's the brand they use. And they are embedding the professional standards in from first teaching from this September. So in 2 years' time, people graduating from those FE programs at 18 will also have the professional standards embedded in those programs, which for your employers is fantastic. So at the moment, they would tell us that they don't class people coming off those programs as fit for purpose for employment. Now, what we're trying to do is make them fit for purpose, is make sure the FE sector is delivering fit for purpose graduates that can be embedded and employed with your employers from the point of which they've achieved that qualification. So we're providing hopefully a wider opportunity to meet a workforce. So a wider workforce for you to use. So we're also engaging the harder to reach as well. You will have seen the undefeatable stuff that's come out recently. So we've been working for about 18 months with Royal College of GPs and other health partners. So you can see Royal Society for Protection of Health there as well. We've developed standards in this area. We signed off a new standard called Health Navigator last week. We've launched a standard for working with people with long-term medical conditions. These are now being embedded into qualifications and into degree programs. So we can have a workforce which has greater understanding of people with long-term medical conditions and how they can work with them to meet their goals. So really to understand that all of those conditions obviously is huge. There's lots to learn. So we've developed a framework for people to be able to do that. And we'll start to embed that across the sector to support that campaign as well. So I'm going to pause for questions there. I'm going to try and check the chat box. Has anybody got anything they would like to flag up about what we've covered so far?
Nothing in the chat box yet.
Anybody want to take the opportunity at this point?
Can I just ask while people are pondering? I think that's been really useful so far, thank you. In terms of the CIMSPA consultations and getting more involved in those, is there a best way of doing that? Is it to keep checking the website, or is there some sort of updates people can sign up to?
Yeah, sure. Obviously, if you join in partnership with us, which I'll go through the partnership opportunities at the end, then you'll see all CIMSPA communications. You'll get regular newsletters and things like that around the work that we're doing, which will direct you to all the consultations that we're doing. But if you don't want to join into partnership, then that's completely fine as well. But yeah, the website is where we every consultation has a news piece that links to it as well.
Okay, thank you, Colin. And Michelle has asked, where can we read more on joining CIMSPA, please? I know you're going to touch on that later. Would that be on your website as well?
Yeah, I'll cover that through the later slides.
Okay.
Thanks, Michelle. The only person to ask a question, so everybody else is very clear on this, so that's fine. Not to push you all into asking questions at all, but no, I understand it's difficult on these webinars. But yeah, do feel free, as we said at the start, to follow up with anything once you've had a chance to digest the information. And like you say, some of it I might cover during the second part. So about halfway through, you'll be glad to hear. So 20 minutes, that's not too bad. So there should be around another 20 minutes to go through, which we will cover. So we've covered what we've done so far, and then we're going to cover our plans for the future. So what we're going to do over the next 12 to 24 months, and some of the things which might resonate with you guys as well. Okay, I can make the link to relevance and from PVC. Thank you. Brill. Okay, so moving into phase 2, so what we're doing next. So phase 2 is really about taking what we've done so far and embedding it across the whole sector, and also focusing on 2 new areas as well. So as I mentioned at the start, we started about 12 months ago looking at to work in community and professional sport and work with partners in those areas, and also to have a better relationship with active partnerships as well. So we haven't done a huge amount of work with active partnerships because we haven't really had a community sport offer. So there hasn't really been a need or an offer which would resonate with you as much. So I know quite a lot of you do have good relationships with leisure employers, and that's probably where you may have heard of us initially, but actually we weren't coming to you with a full offer, which we'll be in a much better position to do that in the next few months as well. So strange photo, but anyway, I'm just going to run you through the main changes of where we see the sector going, based upon what employers are telling us and based upon what we're being asked to do and various other bits of work. So one key piece of work, which I haven't got a slide on, which I'll just cover now, is DCMS and Sport England asked us to consult on a professional workforce register or registration scheme. Debatable to say whether it's a register or a registration scheme. So basically the concept of, for those of you that have been around the sector for a while, will have heard this a number of times, having one massive great big database with everyone on it, and the competencies that they hold and the roles that they can perform. So we outsourced that consultation to an external organisation called Sporting People, run by Rob Young, Steve Mitchell and Dan Thorpe. So some people will know those people. They're well known across the sector. They've run a various number of consultation events, basically to look at a proof of concept to see whether having a national workforce registration scheme or register is feasible and something people would like to explore. That report has gone back to Sport England DCMS now, with the view and the insight to say, yes, the sector would like to explore it further. So there is no way that we have jumped to, okay, there is a register, how big is it, who's on it, who's not on it, what does it cost? We're nowhere near that yet. We're a long way away from that. The proof of concept was to be, okay, is this needed? So there was 2 bits of consultation. There was consultation through our networks and through normal partnerships, active partnerships represented in there. And then there was a survey run by a market research company called 8, who surveyed consumers of physical activity as well. So parents mainly of children that take part in physical activity. And they found, yes, there is a whole host of reasons. You can imagine some of those, and when the headline reports come out, you'll see that, particularly around safeguarding. This is no surprise to anyone, that we need to do something around having a professional workforce registration scheme or register. So that's a main driver for what we're doing, and our feeling is parts of the sector want this anyway, whether they are forced to do it or whether they have joined up to do it. So we will provide an opportunity to do that. So we will provide an opportunity for people to have this registration scheme or register, and that's going to be a main part of our work. And we needed the professional standards in order to do that to start with. And it links to what I'm going to talk about in terms of the term professional status and minimum standards for deployment. They're two terms of which you will hear talked about more readily in the future. So you move from a sector which is very qualification level driven to a sector which is more about professional status, as many other sectors are. So I don't know about you guys, but when my boiler broke, I didn't go looking for the latest, the nearest level 2 plumber. I looked for a plumber who'd got professional recognition with their associated body. And in any ways, probably building sectors a good and bad one to use as an example, but most of the sectors that have a professional body, most people have a relationship with that professional body, and that relationship normally starts in education. So you become a student member of that professional body at the point at which you decide, actually, I'm going to embark on a career in that particular occupation or profession. So that's where we're going. We're going to provide this opportunity for people, and we want everyone to get involved. By no means is it mandatory. By no means is it legislative yet. However, those things may be discussed in the future. So we start to look at what professional status is. So we want people to be recognised. We want people to aspire to achieve the highest level of professional recognition that they can. And that could be through this form. So you could be a member, a chartered member, or a chartered fellow. And before you all worry, this is not about CIMSPA coming in and taking over people's membership schemes or anything else like that. That's definitely not the way we intend to work. We have the opportunity to work in partnership with people who have existing membership schemes already, and we're talking to them about how they can do that as well. So I'll explain how that might work. The easiest way to explain it is to use a live example of somebody. So, for example, a personal trainer that works in the sector, the job role is personal trainer. It's defined by the professional standard is there. So we know what the core skills and competencies of that person are. Everyone needs a member body. So for this role with personal trainers, the member body is CIMSPA. Their professional status could be as a student when they sign into a personal training course. When they graduate from that personal trainer course, and this is the play on the term graduate, it's not necessarily a HE thing. They've graduated from an endorsed program that CIMSPA have accredited. They can be qualified, but not in work. So many people will undertake personal training courses, achieve them, but not yet have a job or not yet be self-employed. So they can stay and still have a relationship with a professional body as a graduate. So qualified, but not yet in work. To be a member, you need to be working, you need to be actively practicing, because you can't maintain your professional status without practicing in the industry. So you can become a member. Then you have the opportunity to be classed as highly competent and become a chartered member. So you can be a chartered member of a professional body. What the charter says, the charter doesn't say that you have met the minimum standard, that's member. It says that you are excellent in what you do. So a lot of our employers tell us, can you define the difference between somebody that is average and just turns up to work and does the bare minimum, and somebody that is really good at what they do and has real specialisms and real expertise in the way that they work as well? Now we can do that, and you have the opportunity to do that through a Royal Charter. So a chartered member, anybody on a database of chartered membership, would be seen as real leaders in the sector, as real experts in their field in terms of what they do. And there's a final thing to that you can also be a chartered fellow. Now these people are the creme de la creme, the real industry role models, people that are given back to the sector based upon what they've learned. So we'll hopefully, what we intend to do is start to move people away from this linear qualification system of levels in community support, in particular levels 1, 2, 3, and 4, where the highest level you could achieve was actually only in one defined industry, which is professional sport, to everybody in the sector having the opportunity to achieve a chartered status, chartered membership, chartered fellowship. So if I work with children in schools, or if I work with Olympic athletes, I am an expert in my field. It doesn't matter where I work or who I work with, I'm an expert. I'm fantastic at what I do. I've kept myself up to date. I'm meeting the industry standards. I'm adhering to a code of conducts. I've got an opportunity to show the sector how good I am, which will hopefully lead to me being paid more, which will hopefully lead to me achieving a higher level job should I want to, and progress through my career in that way. Now, what that needs is a whole level of technical expertise that sits behind that. So what we've said is, let's not make this linear, let's make it related to your occupation and where you want to work. So we have a whole host of professional standards that are either populations or environments, and that's how the professional standards competency frameworks work. That you study your occupation, so a personal trainer in this instance, and then you specialise. So you want to show specialist expertise in working with children, you undertake training related to the children's standard. You want to show specialist expertise related to inactive people, you take training related to the inactive standard. Schools, long-term medical is exactly the same, and there are, as I said, there are 32 different standards which relate to that. And they also determine who you can be deployed with as well. So we'll also, over the next 12 to 24 to 36 months, start to develop what we're calling minimum standards for deployment. So who can you work with, where can you work, is related to the professional standards that you've studied and the level of professional status that you have. So no longer will it be, I have achieved the minimum at the moment, which is a qualification at a certain level. It is, I've achieved training, I've done training at the appropriate level related to the standard, and I have a professional status, which means I'm keeping myself up to date as well. I'm not just achieved a qualification 20 years ago, and then I've not done anything since. I am up to date, and I am also bound by a code of conduct as well. So if I don't perform in relation to that code of conduct, then my professional status can be removed. So for us as a sector, that really ties us up, and that makes us really credible to everybody, general public especially. So Gloria, for example, is a good example. So we all know Gloria. Gloria does the school run. She does local clubs. She's also got 12 jobs, and she runs around just about doing everything. So with this one, so Gloria lives in gym gear. She's a personal trainer, but she also works as a freelance hockey coach because the children like hockey as well. So she does some voluntary hours with hockey, and she does some personal training in the day, or she does some group exercise instructor. She can work with people with long-term medical conditions, so she's a bit of a superstar. I'm not sure about her gloves, but other than that, I really like Gloria. So in this instance, this is where I'm going to show you how CIMSPA are working with other bodies to do this. So the example I'm going to use is England Hockey. So as I've mentioned, Gloria, personal trainer, she's done a whole host of training. She's specialised in certain areas. She's really given back to the industry. And with CIMSPA, she's a charter fellow, so she's a real high quality member of staff. Every employer is looking to employ her because she can work with a wide range of people, and she's an expert in all of those topics. But as a coach, her member body is GB Hockey. She's not going to come to CIMSPA for that membership. She's going to go to GB Hockey. GB Hockey has the technical expertise, it has the resources, it has the support that she needs as a coach. She may be coaching children in hockey, and she's achieved the hockey standard, and she's also working with children in that situation. She's been supported by GB Hockey to achieve that standard, so she can have dual accreditation. So what we're working with GB Hockey on is how these two membership organisations can work together. So instead of saying, oh, you've got a GB Hockey membership and you've got a CIMSPA membership, how can we both work together in order to make life easy for Gloria, so she doesn't have to have multiple memberships with multiple organisations? And as I said, these things aren't happening. These things aren't right now. These things are happening. These things are in development. This is what we're talking to GB Hockey about, and lots of other governing bodies and other membership organisations as well, about how they can apply the chartership within their membership organisation. So if Gloria wasn't a personal trainer and was a coach with GB Hockey, she may have the opportunity through GB Hockey to achieve chartered status. And GB Hockey may award that, supported by CIMSPA, and CIMSPA may verify that with GB Hockey. So all sorts of things going on in terms of how we develop that offer. So again, this is me giving you an insight into the way that we think things are going in the future, not necessarily how it is now. So don't expect this to happen tomorrow. So the system is professional standards underpin everything, competency frameworks. We've got employer partners brought into this, and only employing people with the right level of professional status. We've got policy around the minimum standards for deployment, applying the right touch regulation to that. So in order to work in these areas, you need to have achieved these professional standards. We've got a member value proposition, which also makes it worthwhile for people to pass through this membership journey. So are they going to achieve a higher level job? Are they going to get discounts on certain things? We've got a chartered process for them to apply to join CIMSPA in a chartered way. We've got a quality assured education and development network that provides training related to those standards where skills gaps are found. And we've got sector stakeholders like active partnerships, like Sport England, like UK Active, all of those different stakeholders bought into this whole process. And that's how we change the way the workforce is viewed in the sector and provide recognised and respected profession. So here's an example of where this has been put into practice. There was mixed response to this, if I'm honest, in terms of we developed some guidance with a whole host of partners, including AFP and YST and Active Partnerships and Sport England, to determine what the minimum standards for deployment would be for sports coaches working outside curriculum time. You may have seen this in June. What we did is we told the story too early here. So we launched this in June without having told the rest of the sector about all the other stuff I've just told you, about how this will change over time. So we're working on this, and it's about comms. It's about making sure we're communicating it correctly and communicating things at the right time. So there will be a whole host of things like this. So minimum standards for deployment. So what you need to do to be deployed in that setting at that time over the next 12 to 24 months. And there'll be, okay, well, this is where we start to embed professional status and we start to embed the professional standards into the sector. So working in partnership to pull these things together. CIMSPA are only the custodians and the administrators of this. We rely upon those partners, those technical partners, to develop this with us and for us as well. So that is the new world. So you want to be part of it, get involved. What we're doing at the moment is quite a number of you have already signed up. So those guys that I shouted out at the start, I've already joined up with CIMSPA as either an employer partner or a training provider partner. So you can see this is a screenshot from our website. If you want to get involved, there is no charge for employer partnership at all. We just ask you to commit a certain number of people into membership with us, and then you'll become part of this process. So we can have every single active partnership as employer partners, and that's exactly what we want. So we want you all involved, when you all signed up as employer partners in some degree, and then you will see all of the things that we're doing. So you'll see the consultations, as we've mentioned. You'll be asked to be involved and consulted on what these minimum standards for deployment are as well. There's a whole host of committees that we're going to be forming in order to get this work moving as well. You'll see if there is a future consultation on what a professional workforce registration scheme looks like, you'll be able to get involved in that as well. So we're going to we actively encourage you all to get involved as employer or training provider partners, depending on how your organisation operates. With CIMSPA, so you can sign up tomorrow for that. There's no real problem for that. What we're also going to do is we're going to do some targeted work. So in the coming soon box is we're at the moment working with Sport England Active Partnership Network to pull together what we think might be a more bespoke partnership opportunity, where we'll do some real targeted work around these certain things and themes that I've just spoken about. How can we embed professional status with local employers, things like that, with a smaller number of active partnerships. And that opportunity is likely to come online in the next couple of months. So we're pulling that together at the moment, and we'll consult with obviously guys on what that might look like, and where we'll do some more targeted work with a smaller group there. So if you aren't, sorry, this is really strange to say, but obviously the people that are signed up as employer partners are going to be at the front of our minds when it comes to doing that more targeted work. So if you do see this opportunity and want to embed this in your locality, then please do get signed up as an employer partner, and then you'll be kind of front of the queue for when we do that more bespoke work, and be consulted with on what this future bespoke partnership might look like as well. So really, yeah, that's it. This is probably a summary. This final slide is a summary of our aims. So where we want to be in, like I said, this generational change is where we've got a system where a parent can check their child's coach is qualified and safe, and they're sending them to a safe space. A GP can prescribe physical activity to a physical activity practitioner. Everyone working in the sector, including ourselves, and we keep forgetting about ourselves in this, understands their pathway to personal success and sees chartered status as something to aim for. A manager can verify their employee's qualification, CPD experience. A university graduate, every university graduate is employable on the day that they graduate and in a topic which is relevant and right for the sector. And we are acknowledged as a recognised and respected profession, and we don't lose talent, we retain that talent within the sector as well. But we can't do this alone, we need you to do this with us. So please do get involved, please do sign into Employer Partnership. Inquire with us about what that might mean for you. If you've got any questions or queries about what that exactly means, then do get in touch, and we can put you in touch with the right people to answer those as well. So really, that's it. So thank you for the opportunity today, and I'll just pause there and take the last opportunity for any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Colin. It might be best if I facilitate the questions. There's been a few in the chat box, so I'll verbally talk through in case anyone's dialed in rather than through the webinar platform. Also, that Niall and Kira are on the call as well. So if you would feel more comfortable others answering the questions, Colin, then don't feel it's all on you.
Okay.
So the first one, firstly, just say a massive thank you. I thought that was really informative and spot on for what we needed as a network. So thank you very much for your time on that, Colin. The first one, I think it's just a clarity point from Robin in Yorkshire. Is the Health Navigator standard launched or is it in consultation? Just to clarify.
Yeah, it was signed off last week and we'll hope to launch it next Friday.
Brilliant, because those types of things, especially around our social prescribing agenda, are really topical for us as network at the moment.
Yeah.
Brilliant. The next one is from Michelle. Is there an opportunity to be part of the group looking at or hearing more about the professional workforce standards? And is there a timescale attached to this development?
Yeah, definitely. So like I said, any consultation opportunities are open to anybody to get involved in. So we would love you to get involved.
Okay, and that mainly keeping up to date would be becoming a partner, and then you get those directly. Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully that answers your query, Michelle. Ruth from Tynemere Sport has asked, as an employer partner, what do we need to do to sustain our membership? So, is there any key criteria around that, Colin?
Yes and no. So, I mean, the best thing is to have a look at the website, and there is a contract that will sit between ourselves and the organisation, the active partnership, in terms of what we sign in to do for each other. So the most of it revolves around comms, actually, around how we communicate about you to the network and how you communicate about us to your network. So in terms of criteria, in terms of are we endorsing you, from an employer partnership perspective, no. So it's not, we won't be quality assuring you as an organisation or anything else like that with that. It's more about how can we work together to embed what we're trying to do across your local workforce.
Okay, thank you very much, Ruth. Moving on to Beth Kay, appreciate that as the organisation you've been leisure focused. When are you hoping to sort of drive a closer focus on, where's it gone, for typical active partnership roles? So obviously you've mentioned about working more in the community and activity space.
Yeah.
In terms of the typical active partnership roles, any timescales for that?
Yeah, so yeah, I see where you're coming from. So your internal staff. So we think we've got some opportunities. Depends what role you're doing, but yeah. So say you're a sports development officer, then there are professional standards there for the old traditional sports development officer. But I think the specific roles around I don't know, insight officer or club development officer and things like that. What we've developed is a core management framework rather than developing things for specific roles because they're so niche. That actually we would hope that we'd be able to use that core management framework within that. But yeah, we're doing some more work on providing new membership opportunities as well, which I think next February is probably realistic in terms of where we'll be looking to promote those out to the sector.
Thank you very much. And we endorse that as well. I think, like you say, the conversations we've had, Colin, we don't want to create new things if things are already there or it can be part of something else. It's about that bigger framework. So that does make sense.
Yes, good example is we were asked to do a standard for insight officer, for example, and we went, actually, is that a sport related role? And it's not. So there is an insight officer apprenticeship standard that already exists, which was developed by some of the big employers that have kind of research insight officers from what they need, and we felt that the core competencies of that standard was appropriate to use for our insight officers. Obviously, it wouldn't be sport particularly related; it would be quite generic. But what we went is, well, actually, there's no need to develop something which is specific to sport, because it would be so niche. It's not worth us doing that.
Yeah, and I also think with our system thinking hats on, we're trying to bring in different skills into our section vice versa. So I think that reinforces that message as well.
Yeah.
A final question in the chat box, is from Michelle. And Colin, whether you can give a bit of a flavour as to some of the CPD or support some of the active partnerships have access to yourselves by being one of your members.
That's a difficult one, because I lead on education rather than partnerships. So I'd be happy to pass you on to Claire, who leads on the partnership stuff. So she's probably got a better idea of the sorts of things that she's been doing, so the detail around those partnerships. I'm sorry to fob you off, but I don't know, so I'd rather not guess.
No, I think it might be that we look at a couple of case studies there, Colin, just to draw out some of the benefits, the tangible benefits some of those active partnerships are accessing.
Sure.
Finding useful.
Hi Charlie and Colin, it's Kira here. I can go into a little bit more detail about that, and hi to everyone listening. We're understanding that this webinar that Colin has delivered will start to spark some interest, as we're aware that it has been mentioned in a lot of active partnerships workforce plans. So thankfully, due to a lot of active partnerships that are currently involved with CIMSPA at differing levels that Colin outlined earlier, we're hoping to bring some case studies and bring that to life. Equally, not to put a lot of pressure on maybe 30 of the active partnerships contacting one just to see how they're doing. So we'll be able to communicate that over the next coming months. You can get an examples and you can kind of ask some more questions. So hopefully that can be really helpful to everyone.
That'd be great. Thank you, Kira.
Thank you.
They were all the questions in the chat box. It might be worth opening the floor again to any question. Oh, sorry, Beth has come back online to say, who's the best contact, Colin, to speak to about the HE pilots?
Yeah, that'd be me. I can put you in touch with the right person.
Okay, that's great. Colin, can you write in the chat box your email address, if that's okay, just so everyone's got it? Thank you. Are there any other questions from anyone on the call?
Just might be a quick question for me, just even it's Kira here, just returning even back from maternity, but I'm not sure if active partnerships are aware that CIMSPA has really expanded, and I'm sure Colin would agree, over the last few months. So I would suggest that we could perhaps put an organogram out, Colin, soon, and potentially with the case studies we could indicate who's best to contact for what purpose, and some questions. How would that feel for you, Colin?
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, like that, Kira. Is there anything else you wanted to say from Sport England's perspective, Kira?
Not much really. That was really clear from my side and from my point of view. We're really keen for active partnerships to access CIMSPA in the way that is best and that suits their locality. So how they would wish to use CIMSPA, if it's not quite right at the moment, that's absolutely fine. And if it is mentioned in your workforce plans and you're really thinking about how you might work with CIMSPA, chat to Colin, chat to us, and keep in touch, and we can hopefully help you with some case studies and some work that's already continuing. So make sure it's best for your locality and what's happening at the moment. That'll be a piece from me.
Okay, and I'd also encourage, I know some regional workforce leads still meet, so I would encourage you to pick up the phone or meet face to face and discuss different ways you're working with CIMSPA, like Kira says, within your locality, as that tends to be how we work best as a network. So just sharing ideas and good practice is always a positive way forward. Okay, last opportunity to ask any questions on the webinar, if anyone's got any burning questions. Okie dokie. What I'll do is I'll look to wrap it up. Colin has kindly put his email into the chat box, so please take note of that. And as we've said, please pick up the phone to Colin, myself, or Kira, or Niall, and we'll do our very best to support you. And thank you everyone today, but a special thank you to Colin for all his work and support. Thank you,
Thanks for the
everyone.
opportunity. Thank
Cheers,
you.
thank you. Bye.
Bye.